Oh, dear. So Nicole sent through to us and she said her biggest challenge when it comes to her health and fitness is being able to stay motivated, being able to be consistent, and knowing how to get started at 53 years old. And I love this because it made me think about Veronica, one of our clients, because she was 53 when she started working out with us. And so I think it's important to firstly recognize that all of the experiences that we have in life, particularly those that we have in our younger life, in our childhood, they really do influence us in a profound way in how we think about things, our attitude to things, and the choices and decisions that we make. And Sal, I read somewhere that 70% of us have some form of trauma in our life. That's pretty big, isn't it?
That's huge.
And it's not like big trauma, trauma ranges. There's lots of different types of trauma, but it is really interesting to know that most of us have had something that have occurred in our younger years that definitely help us. Well, not so much. In some instances, not so much help us, but have influenced us in some profound way.
Yeah.
And in talking about Veronica, because I want to just go through her journey, and how she identified the problem, where she, sought out solutions, and, how she confronted the inactions of life. I do want to talk about that. Her background was one that had a lot of adversity in it, and there was a lot of turmoil. And it's not dissimilar to my own, and I don't really want to go into all the details associated with Veronica's life. But just to say, from my perspective, I grew up with a mum, no dad, in my younger years, and I lived with grandparents, so mum went to work, which was quite an unusual thing back in the 60s. And then, so I had that influenced me. I saw firsthand the impact of immobility and what that did as well too, as a really young child, and never realized how much that actually impacted me until later in life. Like it scares the living daylights out of me to think that if I had to sit and look at four walls every day, that would just be, I think, the worst thing that I could possibly have to endure. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and it comes down to the fact that I've seen that firsthand as a child. And then if I fast forward that, I was sexually abused in my young teen years as well too. So, and that definitely, created a whole host of new chaos in my life as well too. But it's not to say that we as adults are, have to be influenced, or at least have to bring those things into our life. We can actually deal with them. We can learn from them. They are part of who we are and the experience that we've had, but we can actually move forward in life. And I think that's important. It's a lesson that we can take from kids. If we look at any child, you have a grandchild living with you, Sal. If you look at Landon, he's just cruising through it. He doesn't care about anything that's going on. He doesn't care whether the floor's clean or not. He doesn't, he doesn't care about, whether you got a fancy kitchen to cook in or anything like that. He just cares about if he's hungry, he wants to eat. If he wants to play, he wants to play, so he's just going through each and every moment. And it's such a difficult thing for us adults to do, right? Is to just
Yeah.
here, just be focused, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I think back to Veronica, let's talk about her story. I think the most important thing is that because she has come from adversity, it really did teach her some level of resilience in life. And so much so that, she joined the Navy. She was in the Navy for 10 years. So, just being in the armed forces, that meant that she was fit, right? And then all of a sudden you fast forward that to, 53, and she was breaking down. And she just didn't know how to handle all of those aches and pains and things that were going on in her body. And so, she had, and she still has wrist injuries. She has osteoarthritis in her hip. Um, she has some other types of issues as well too. Can you recall what they are?
She's had, hip issues, ankle or Achilles issues.
Yeah.
She's got a scapular issue at the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all sorts of things going on. But because of her being in the Navy and being so fit, and she didn't want to give up on exercising, but what would happen is she'd go to an exercise class and she'd take one step forward and three steps back. Have you ever experienced that where, you've gone in and done something and then you've ended up getting injured or whatever? Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had many years ago. I think Quinn was like 9 or 10. I think it was.
Yeah.
How long have I? Yeah, probably. I've been with you for 14 years, so maybe 12 years ago, 10, 12 years ago. And I was out the backyard. My son was mowing, and I was weeding. And like, we've got a huge backyard, big
Yeah.
backyard. And he was one side and I was the other side. And yeah, those massage balls with all the nobules on it.
Yeah.
He didn't see it in the grass. He's mowed over the top of it and it's shot out from the mower and hit me in my calf. And it dropped me, absolutely dropped me. And I was on crutches for 5 weeks.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. And, right up until that very day, I was interval running every afternoon. I would go for an hour interval running. And then I was on crutches for 5 weeks. And then it was that big struggle to get back into the running.
Yeah.
At first it was physical, because my leg, because of the way the ball hit my calf, they were concerned that it had that my calf muscle was actually bleeding inside, which can be a very scary thing, because your muscle can die. But yeah, so at first it was physical, but then it was mental. Like mentally, I was struggling. I'd go for a run, I'd go, oh, that's hurting, I'll stop. Oh, that's hurting, I'll stop. So then I wouldn't go for that day. I wouldn't go the next day, and then I'd try a week later,
Yeah, and I know that was something for Veronica as well too. She would say, oh, I've overdone it over the weekend. This is what I've done, so I won't work out today. And I'd go, oh, no. There are so many other things that you can do other than what's been prescribed in this exercise session that you're about to come into, the group session. I said, we can do, X, Y, and Z. So, still come, because we know that that's important to you. And I was actually thinking about, how did she find us?
Yes.
And I think this is an important factor for anybody. It's start researching, look around, jump on Google, check out what's available, and then look at the reviews and the likes. For Veronica, she happened to was talking to a friend about it, who was Julie, and Julie said, oh, actually, I was at a charity event like 6 months ago, and there was this woman from Strong Healthy Women speaking, And this is exactly what she was talking about. Why don't you reach out to her? And she did. And we were on the phone for a really long time. And, she then decided to start with us by doing the fitness foundations, which is a perfect starting ground for anybody, because you're starting where you're at. You've got that personalized sessions that are going to happen with you, but you've also got, some type of structure behind it, and you know that you're actually starting with these fundamentals, these basics of life. And it's really interesting because I've just this week been guest speaking at the Uniting Church, at the Ladies Fellowship there. And it was really interesting because I asked for a show of hands, and I have women in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Now, some were in wheelchairs, some were on wheelie walkers, some had walking sticks and the likes. So, I said, what we're going to do is talk about these foundations. And at the end of it, it was really, really surprised me how a couple of, retired nurses from years ago said, I just loved how you talked about that. And we would see this with our patients, once they've had operations, and we would try to go through this stuff with them. We've never seen anybody talk about it from that perspective before. And it was so good to understand that these are simple things that we can still do, even though, for one of the ladies, I'm in a wheelchair, but I can still do this. I've got a wheelie walker, but I can still do this. And, they were those who, they were asking questions about lower back pain and all sorts of things. And, and one of them even said at the end of it, it's my imagination, but my back's not aching anymore. Is that because of this stuff that we just did? And I said, yeah, it's totally because of the stuff you just did. It was like, it was so simple. And don't you think we try to make it really complex?
I think, that we have this vision in our head.
Yeah.
Of what as we age. So I'm talking about women coming into it, like Veronica. Nicole was the lady's name, I think.
Yes, Nicole, 53.
Yes. Yep, coming into it. And we have this image or idea in our head what that exercise is going to look like.
Yeah,
and
right.
For women our age, a little bit older, it's going to be a 1990 aerobics class that you're doing.
Oh, yes.
Yes, that's the image you've got in your head. And so I think it's so very important to take your blinkers off, have a completely open mind. But the other thing too is, you were talking about research, do your research. But look, do your research very thoroughly. Julie heard you speaking at a charity event. She's let Veronica know. Now, their trainers are in that age group.
Yes.
We as trainers have been through what they are going through.
Yeah, that's right.
So when you're doing your research, there's no point getting Josh, who's a 22-year-old trainer, at the local gym, because he's not understanding the struggles that women of our age group go through. And it's not just physically, it's not just aches and pains, but it's also what we were talking about before. Life throws things at you. We've got grandkids. We're looking after our parents who are aging as well.
That's right.
For myself, I still have 2 daughters at home. So, it's 2 daughters and a grandchild. Yes. Most of us are still working, so there's a lot of stuff happening. So I think it's so very important to take your blinkers off and do your research thoroughly.
Yeah, it is. And then once you've done that research, is to cross-reference it, to check those recommendations, to actually talk to people about those recommendations, because in this day and age, there are so many influencers giving advice that really don't have qualifications. And, you know, that in itself, you're putting yourself at more risk as well too.
And don't be afraid to ask, you know, don't be afraid to ask.
No.
There's one I came across the other day, and she was an influencer, and she was selling workout guides for $25.
Right.
You know, and I
Okay.
asked the question, you know, do you have any certifications? Can
Yep.
you send them through to me? Because it's so very important. You want somebody, you know, especially as you said, it's the aches and pains. We're getting older. It's menopause. It's perimenopause. It's
Yeah.
postmenopause. All the menopauses. So yeah, it's your right to ask for to ask that person for certifications.
Absolutely, it is. Absolutely.
Mm.
I think also that what can happen is when you're feeling like this, and I know this to be true for Veronica as well too, it's like you can get frozen by so much information. You just don't know which way to turn as well too. But deep down in your heart, you know that you need to do something, but you just not sure what to do or who to follow or how to do it. So there'll be a lot of reservations, and what can happen is that can just stop you in your tracks. Whereas
And we can look at that as, I don't have the motivation, but it's not that. It's that you're
no,
just overwhelmed with information overload.
yeah, exactly. And that's where, you know, you set yourself a time frame to go, I'm going to look at this stuff. Now that I've looked at it, I'm going to make a decision, and just bear in mind that, you know, whatever decision you make, it's not hard and fast. It's the decision that you make right now. And if it doesn't work out, well, that's okay too. Just go to the next thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
it's okay to, you know,
mm,
trial, you know, you can trial 5 different, you know, strength training workouts or 5
yeah,
different trainers. You've got to find what fits for yourself.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that's it leads me to that next part, which is embracing change, which is what
Mm.
Veronica said. Like, she didn't imagine that she's feeling like this at 53 with everything that's going on. She was feeling like her body was weak and it was once strong. She felt like she was living in an older woman's body. And that's something I've heard a lot of, that you think, at this age, I shouldn't be like this, but I am like this. Why is that the case? And it's that lack of immobility, that lack of not taking action, that makes it worse for us, because we want to take that first step. We want to embrace that change, because if we've done our research, then it means that we found someone that we resonate with, that we're pretty confident that we're going to get the results that we want, and they're going to be able to help us, you know, take those steps and keep us accountable and support us along the way. So I
Yeah.
think, you know, that first tip for starting in your 50s is to consult some professionals, you know,
Yeah.
and ask them, how much experience have you had working with, you know, 50-year-old or 60 or 70-year-olds that have had these types of issues? Or
Yeah.
how would you exercise? How would you have me exercise when I've got this? So you're asking
Mhm.
those questions that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think point number 2, Stella's got to be start slow. So you're going to listen to your body. But when we say listen to your body, we're also going to say we need to identify the difference between pain and
Yes.
and your body responding to lack of movement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a difference. Or your body responding to movement. You know, there's a difference between pain and soreness. You know, tight joints, tight muscles. Yeah. So it's very important to know the difference between that.
Yes. And it was something that I went through with Veronica. She went, oh, that's painful. And I go, describe it for me. No, that's not pain. That's just stiffness.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just the
Yeah.
body responding to it. So yeah, starting slow is important, but being aware of those aches, pains, injuries that you've got, and then identifying what's the difference between pain and what's the difference between soreness. Definitely focus on strength and flexibility, moving your joints, your mobility, and your muscles together. That's going to be important. You want to focus on those compound movements. So those multi-jointed movements that are foundational to how you move in life.
Yeah.
First and foremost. You don't need the fancy stuff. And you certainly shouldn't be running into a group session where you're going to be going 1,000 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Which is what's in our head from what we did when we were, in our 20s or our 30s.
Yeah.
But it's not what we need now. We're losing muscle mass, at a really fast rate once we hit those 50s and beyond. So it starts in our 30s, a little bit slower, hit the 50s, boom, it's gone. So we want to be focusing on building that strength. At the session I was talking about before at the Uniting Church, one of the ladies said to me, I used to be such a good person with walking every day, but now I'm waiting for a knee replacement. So, I've got bone on bone and I can't walk anymore. So what should I do? It's like strength train. That's what we just talked about. There's so many other things that you can do. And I would always say that's first and foremost, because how much easier is it to pick up a set of weights in your room, like I'm in my office, and do some weight training for 5 minutes as opposed to now I've got to go and do a 30-minute walk. I've just used 5 minutes to get the same type of results. It's a no-brainer, really. Yep. Any points that you want to raise yet, Sal?
Not yet. Not yet, no.
Okay. So I think the next thing is just simply staying consistent with it. Just even though you may not feel like it, just do it anyway.
Yeah. And we've seen that from Veronica. She's had probably over the last, probably not the last 6 months, maybe the last 12 months, there have been times where she struggled, and she struggled. But, over the last 2-3 months, she's been amazing.
Yeah, because the penny finally dropped for her.
Yeah.
It was like, how do you feel when you don't come? She said, I feel lousy. I feel that I can't move as well as what I do when I exercise. And the list went on. And I said, so really, when that alarm goes off to get out of bed of a morning, stop hitting the snooze. Just get up. Be the girl who takes action as opposed to, I'll just snooze. Oh, no, it's snooze again. And then you beat yourself up all day because you didn't go. Yep. Yeah. And it was interesting that, it took a while to get to that stage where she went, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And, I pointed her in that direction of Mel Robbins' book, the 5-second rule. It's like, count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, take action. Yeah, which is brilliant. I think the next thing is that we need to embrace variety. And that's one of the things that I think as humans, women in particular, we want to do the same thing. We want to turn up and do it the same way, day in, day out. that's not when we're going to get results. That's not going to make us stronger. That's not going to help us get fitter or leaner. What we do need to do is listen to Sally Ann when she tells us to do, 1,000 more, whatever it happens to be. It's like, oh, is this ever going to end?
Yes. I got the question this morning. Why 17? Why 17 reps?
Why not 17?
Because you have to think about that. You have to think 17 reps. And I actually had two of the ladies go, yeah, I did, because I only went to 15 and then realized that it was 17.
Oh.
It's such a random number, but that puts you into your workout. You're not thinking about 1,000 other things.
Yeah.
And as you said,
exactly.
Women just do the same thing over and over and over again. 12 reps, 4 sets, you don't have to think about that.
No.
It's just going through the motions. Whereas you have, as you said, when you have variety, you have to think about, you're in that moment of doing your workout.
Yeah, totally. And I think my last point, Sal, is to prioritize your recovery. So making sure you're doing your stretches, making sure you're giving yourself, the time and space for those muscles to recover, so that, you're fully prepared for the next session that you're about to go into.
Yeah.
And that could be wide and varying. The stretching, active recovery the next day. So, just keeping yourself moving. That might mean using lighter weights. It might mean just walking. It could be a stretching session, a yoga session, who knows? But it's just allowing yourself to do that. Hot, cold showers are always good as well. Massage, foam rolling.
Massage. Yeah.
List goes on, doesn't it?
It does. Just going outside, laying in the grass, looking up at don't look at the sun, but enjoying the sunlight on your skin.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, any points you want to add before we wrap up today?
2 points I want to add.
Go for it.
Forget the motivation.
It's not going to happen.
I know. Forget looking for motivation, because it's just, you've just got to get up and get it done. Get up and do it. Get up and do your research. Get up and contact somebody. My second point is, and this goes to V, and this goes to her persistency and her consistency. And I think, like from what I've seen from V, that's due to her PTs every week.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt.
Yeah, there's no compromise on her PTs on a Tuesday at all. So, if you do struggle to start with, to find that consistency, book a PT session. Have your PT sessions.
Yeah, absolutely. You're totally right there, Sal. I mean, you can really see the difference in the women who are doing those personal coaching sessions, just in their technique, their thought processes, their fitness even.
Their strength. And you can just see it when they're doing it. They have their PT sessions, but then they're also coming into the studio.
That's right.
I notice it, in these ladies, Veronica, Catherine, Julie, they're more focused on that workout and getting the most out of that workout.
Yeah, absolutely. And the wonderful thing about PT sessions in themselves is that you do have a coach, and you can ask questions, and you can definitely slow it down. It's not just go either. It might be, depending on what they've got planned for you, but it is all about you moving in the right movement pattern, and to actually feel the right muscles, and to make that connection in your body. And when you're noticing things, you can talk to your coach about it, and then they're going to go, okay, we're going to work on that next week, type of thing. So there's always that continual plan of changing things around, and just achieving a lot more. And
they don't have to be in person. You know, we
Oh,
do all our PT sessions
yeah.
online, and you were just saying that as a client, you can tell your trainer this is what's happening, but as trainers, we pick stuff up. You
Oh,
know,
mm-hmm.
why are you not going as high in your shoulder press? What's happening there?
Yeah,
Why are you not going as low in your squat? What's happening there?
yeah.
So if you have a good trainer, they're going to pick stuff up like that too.
Yeah, and particularly when you're working with trainers who are in, the same age group as what you are.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they definitely know where the shortcuts are because they'll be guilty of doing it
Done them.
themselves.
Yeah,
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 absolutely. Absolutely, we
yeah.
will be. And I was just thinking, as you were mentioned there, June, what didn't come to us as a PT client, she came to us and started as in group sessions. But one of the things that she was noticing was this hip issue that she kept on having. She was going to the physio about it. And she said, can I just do, a PT session with you and just, talk through some stuff? And, she's still doing PT sessions. And now
Yeah,
I'm looking at her going, she's the bomb. Like, seriously.
I know. She
She's
was
just,
my mark person the other day.
yeah,
She was my marker, and I said, "What size weights are you lifting?" And like, she's up to sevens now.
I know,
You
I
know,
know. Her,
crazy. She was at threes.
Yeah, I know. Before she started doing PT, Alice is exactly the same. Alice is now on sevens, and she said, "I hate this is last week. I hate to admit this," she said, "but I think I need to go and buy
You
heavier
go
weights."
A's.
I said, "My love, you need to go and buy at least tens." And she said, "I won't lift those over my head." And I said, "Maybe not right now." I said, "But you
No.
will. The more you're doing this, yeah, you will definitely
Yeah.
get there." Yeah. And she's got lots of things going on with her as well too. And and the wonderful thing is Alice is that bit younger, so she's got kids. So when school holidays happen, I've got all three kids in the sessions as well too. So there's Alice and the three kids.
That's good.
Yeah.
See, teaching
Uh,
them young about strength training.
Oh, absolutely. And she's being a great role model for them because when they're in the bath, she's out in the hallway, doing side planks or something, and they're seeing her, just finding those moments where she can do that little bit of extra exercise. So,
Yeah,
she's, just amazing. She is amazing.
yeah,
But all of our
yeah.
clients are amazing. So, yeah, but just coming back to the topic at hand today is like, how do you find that motivation, that consistency, particularly as you're aging? I think first and foremost, it's like decide that you want to do it. And if you
Mm,
want to do it, then find the right help and get the help and
yeah.
just start.
Mm,
Even a couple of sessions will help you get started. And once you start, that's when you find the motivation. Once you start to feel the difference, that's when you create the consistency. And that means that you're able to do this and keep doing this for the rest of your life. Sal, yes, on Wednesday when I was doing that other charity event, one of the ladies who came up and asked me a question, she was in her 90s.
yeah,
Yeah, and here she is doing scapular push-ups with me on the kitchen bench in their tea room.
yeah,
You know, so she's 90 years old, but she wanted to make that change. So
yeah. That's
never too old,
wonderful.
right? Never too old.
Never,
Mm,
never.
no. All right, Sal, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me as always.
You are very welcome. Thanks, ladies, for joining us today. I really do hope that you've got something out of our session today and that you will embrace, stop thinking about, I need to do something, that I need to find motivation. Just take that first step
Yeah.
because that's what leads to the rest of it. So thanks for joining me, Sal. See you soon. Hey, see you,
Bye.
ladies. Bye. Bye, everyone. Bye.